Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Nothing? Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Engage. Well.
Well.
Uncles. Yes. I trust you are well. Well.
I trust that you are saying well.
I'm in a well. I'm in a well like a baby in Texas.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That's an 80s deep cut for all of you Jessica fans out there.
Yeah, there are a lot of babies down wells in Texas, but that's a story for another day.
Indeed. What are the stories for today?
Well, I'm going to start us off by telling everybody how much I don't like Christmas.
Oh, so sad.
And all the men we lost in the struggle.
Yes, indeed.
Down the wells. And Dan, you're gonna talk about a kind of a dietary plan.
I'm going to tell you all of everyone who's on keto or paleo can go suck it, because there are some guys in Japan who are doing it the real way,
to the extreme.
Yeah. To the extreme, and then we're going to meet. They're wonderful, and then our friend for returning champion, second week in a row.
Yeah,
our dear friend Paige is going to come back and follow up on a little thing we did about lying to children and why it's a good thing, and you should do it under every circumstance.
That's right.
Every chance you get.
Every child you see, tell them they're adopted.
That's right. So let's get into all that bullshit.
Woohoo!
Hey, Uncle Mark.
Yes, sir.
Take cover.
Yes,
Shots
sir.
fired. Shots fired.
They're coming down from the north.
My dearest Martha.
Life on the war front has been so difficult.
I'm feeling very close to the Civil War today. I feel it.
Yeah, well,
it's kind of it's a big hobby of mine. I love to think about it and talk about it, and
I like to do it, but I like when I do my reenactments, I make sure I have jingle bells on all of on my uniform.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to talk about a seasonally appropriate war.
Yes. It's good to have the right war for the right season.
That's right. Well, dear uncles, the smell of gingerbread is in the air. The halls are all fully decked with balls. The sleigh bells are a ring tingling, and I am in a bad mood. That can only mean one thing. It's Christmas time. However, before you get too drunk on wassail and lurk creepily beneath the mistletoe, I must remind you that this is also a season of war, and you may find yourself over the holidays, Christmas, having to argue over this war.
Thank you.
Its merits, its true cost, and its actual existence with your religious relatives, because today we are taking on the war on Christmas.
Skun-dun-dun.
Back in episode 65, we discussed how to atheist, and that we as atheists are free to celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Ramadan, or any other religious holiday we choose out of nostalgia, respect, or for any other reason, or not. It's entirely up to you. However, well, you can both attest that I love me some Thanksgiving. I personally am not much of a fan of Christmas.
Rude.
Why? Neither of you asked? Well, I'll tell you. As we'll discuss, placing the birth of Christ in the same week as the pagan solstice holiday was a pretty sloppy and ham-fisted way of reeling in pagans, which actually worked. The mere fact that there even was an actual Jesus upon which Christianity is centered is far from certain, and will likely never be truly known. Even less knowable, then, is his date of birth. So, it was not until 336 that the Romans fixed his birthday to the winter solstice. So, if it's arbitrary anyway, does it have to be in December? I'll grant you Jesus' existence and even the need to celebrate his birthday, but why can't we do it in April or May? Must we put ourselves through this self-imposed flagellation in one of the coldest months and the one with the shortest days? Because of the cold, your car always breaks down in December, your heating bills go up, at least for our Northern Hemisphere listeners, the sun sets around 4:30 p.m., and I don't know about you guys, but my circadian rhythm is attached directly to my drinking arm, So it's a vicious cycle. Toss on to that the extended time with your conservative religious relatives in the Trump era, crass consumerism, having to have saccharine music crammed down your throat over and over from the day after Thanksgiving on.
I lost Whamageddon the other day.
Whamageddon. And be subjected to a birth story not even true to its fictitious source material, see episode 13, and now you know why I don't like Christmas.
Yeah.
All that being said, if we have to do it, can we please move it? December is a month to put your head down, talk to as few people as possible, and grind it out. But no. Christmas is fucking everywhere. The streets are lined with pine boughs, Christmas lights festoon my entire neighborhood, my grocery store is mostly wrapping paper, and there is an unsolicited Christmas tree in my fucking office. It's a tough time of year for me. Yeah. So, given my attitude and reality, imagine my annual surprise to hear religious conservatives bleat on every year about the war on Christmas. Now, as we'll discuss, the idea of the war on Christmas is very, very dumb. But if there were said war, my fellow secular commandos, we are losing.
What?
Back on October 26th of this year, that's one full week before Halloween, there was already a Christmas aisle in my local department store. So this is like the scene in The Two Towers where Theoden has completely lost Helm's Deep and says to Aragorn, "What can men do against such reckless hate?" So before we ride out one last time into the sea of Christmas elves ramming the gate, let's dig into the war on Christmas, where it comes from and why like a Palestinian carpenter, it just won't die. So we've delved into countless conspiracy theories on this show, from Hollow Earth back in episode 52 to Spaceship Moon in episode 89, from QAnon in episode 102 to the Georgia Guidestones in episode 85. And if there's one thing we've learned about in those journeys, it's that pretty much every conspiracy theory ends in
the Jews.
The Jews. So you'll find it refreshing that today's conspiracy does not end with the Jews.
Bullshit.
It starts with the Jews. It pretty much stays with them the whole time. It was, of course, the Jews who started this whole mess in the first place by deftly manipulating the occupying Romans into arresting Jesus, trying him, whipping him, and crucifying him. Yes. That's just how deep the conspiracy goes.
Right. Yeah, that was never the Jews, but okay.
So the first known reference to the war on Christmas was in 1921.
What?
With this quote, "Last Christmas, people had a hard time finding Christmas cards that indicated in any way that Christmas commemorated someone's birth." End quote. So given the year, 1921, and the already acknowledged anti-Semitism intrinsic to this conspiracy, any guesses who might have said that?
Father Coughlin.
No.
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Yay! Oh, yeah, of course. Duh. I'm sorry, I got my anti-Semites mixed up.
It's an easy mistake to make. Don't worry about it.
It was a good guess, though. In the 1920s, good old Henry Ford published a series of pamphlets with the enigmatic title, "The International Jew, the World's Foremost Problem."
Yeah.
What could he be trying to say? So
he was so cagey about it.
Yeah.
Among the many crimes that Ford accused Jews of was a conspiracy to abolish Christmas. Like many conspiracies, there is a teeny tiny kernel of truth upon which Ford was building his tower of bullshit. In the 1910s, a group of Jewish leaders did challenge the teaching of Christianity in public schools, including the reading of the Christmas story and the display of nativity scenes on school grounds. This was enough for Ford's evil mind to see a vast conspiracy to utterly destroy Christmas and gouge it out of our lives and department stores. The fact that the leading department stores at the time were Levy's, Isaac's, Goldstein's, and Silverman's, who would be losing out on that Christmas income, did nothing to dissuade Ford.
Yeah.
In the 1950s, the far-right John Birch Society decided to get in on the action, writing yet another pamphlet with the title, "There Goes Christmas?" Among a ton of random shit was this gem, quote, "What they now want to put," they is obviously the Jews, "what they now want to put over on the American people is simply this. Department stores throughout the country are to utilize UN symbols and emblems as Christmas decorations."
Oh, wow, the globalism,
Okay.
the globalist conspiracy started earlier than I knew.
Right.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. So now the actual term, "the war on Christmas," was apparently coined by a conservative author named Peter Brimlow in 1995 in an article titled "Alien Nation, Common Sense About America's Immigration Disaster," which Stephen Miller reads as he chokes himself. So Brimlow launched a website in 1999 called vdare.com, which is a reference to Virginia Dare,
I know what it is. Can I say?
Yeah.
Believed to be the first white person born in the New World.
That's correct. You got it.
Yep.
So that's who this motherfucker is.
Yeah.
The site would publish compilations of quote-unquote attacks on Christmas that were basically overblown anecdotes of people or businesses saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. So let's talk about that for a second. At the very least, there are two major holidays that take place in the last week of the calendar year, Christmas and New Year's. Saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year has, at least for me, been nothing more than a time saver. As an avowed atheist, I have never, not even once, said Happy Holidays with the intention of negating Christmas.
Yes.
But that's just me.
Well, you're doing it wrong.
Happy St. Michael's Miss and St. Thomas's Eve and Happy Boxing Day, of course, and Happy Christmas Eve, then, of course, Christmas morning and Christmas distinctively happy those. Right. You just have to say all of them.
Like Peter O'Toole while I do it?
I like it.
That was more James Mason, but whatever. Yeah.
So anywho, this leads us to 2004 and the modern version of the War on Christmas. This was the first time that Fox News host, sexy crime novel writer, falafel enthusiast, and world's fourth creepiest boner haver, Bill O'Reilly, took up the cause with this salvo, quote, "Secular progressives, Jews, realize that America as it is now will never approve of gay marriage, partial birth abortion, euthanasia, legalized drugs, income redistribution through taxation, and many other progressive visions because of religious opposition. But if the secularists, Jews, can destroy religion in the public arena, the brave new progressive world is a possibility. That's what happened in Canada." Mark, are you okay? Is everything all right?
Let me tell you guys, it's like Thunder Road out here.
I'm sorry, Mark. It's Thunder Dome and Fury Road.
It's like Fury Dome here to Canada. Well, it gets to Canada later, so sometimes the titles are a mess.
They changed the titles, eh?
Sorry. Okay, so now we're off to the races. 1 year later, fellow Fox News asshole John Gibson wrote the book The War on Christmas: How the Liberal Plot to Ban the Sacred Christmas Holiday is Worse Than You Thought. Okay. O'Reilly started calling for boycotts of businesses like Sears, Kmart, Kohl's, Target, Walmart, and Costco because of perceived animosity towards Christmas.
Amazing.
Yes, retailers hate Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was because they would have tchotchkes that said Happy Holidays on them.
Yeah.
Right. Or
it's literally just, it's not because they did anything against Christmas, it's because they included other holidays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Soon the American Family Association and the Catholic League joined in, and these boycotts bore fruit. Like, retailers had to make their staff say, don't say Happy Holidays or we're going to fucking go under. So in 2016, Fox News finally had enough of Bill O'Reilly and his increasingly expensive boner, and ousted him to the sad and pathetic world of podcasting. But the War on Christmas lives on in the addled minds.
Fate worse than death.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
The war lives on in the addled minds of aging conservatives to this day.
Well, it's not just aging. Some of them are like suburban Karens.
Sure.
Yes.
You might have even heard our current president, when not lamenting the number of times he has to flush what must be truly catastrophic bowel movements, bragging about how people are finally saying Merry Christmas again just because he's in the White House.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, although Christians are prohibited from reading the Bible in schools or placing nativity scenes on city properties, there has never been a law passed in this country banning anyone from celebrating Christmas, with one exception.
Oh.
The only time there was a law passed that actually banned Christmas was in 1659,
yeah,
and it was passed by the Puritans. See episode 61. So the law was it was as follows, quote, "For preventing disorders arising in several places within this jurisdiction, by reason of some still observing such festivals as were superstitiously kept in other countries, to the great dishonor of God and offense of others, it is therefore ordered by this court and the authority thereof, that whosoever shall be found observing any such day as Christmas or the like, either by forbearing of labor, feasting, or any other way, upon such accountants as aforesaid, every person so offending shall pay, of every such offense, 5 shillings.
Wow.
Yeah.
How dare you forbear labor?
So, but because nobody plays the victim more than a Christian with absolute power, we are probably doomed to endure this war for the rest of our lives.
Well, it's what's the best part about the War on Christmas is that the only people firing are them.
Exactly.
Like, and it wasn't always the case. Like, in fairness, atheists have all and people of other minority religion traditions have fought to try and keep fucking
Yes.
Christmas decorations from out of the state house or out of the whatever.
In the same way that these motherfuckers would fight to keep Ramadan out of the fucking state house.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Although I can say that in the war on Christmas, we have won a few battles, including this year in, I believe, Iowa, where there was, in order to try and make it so that they could have Christmas decorations up, they decided to do a lottery where 8 different groups of any religious tradition.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Could participate and put up their own display, and then it's chosen by lottery. 7 of the 8 this year are atheist organizations within the state of Iowa.
That's hilarious.
That is awesome.
So that's a big fail for them. And then in other states, that like Satanists have gotten their stuff in stuff. So.
Well, I'm with you, Dan. I say if we have to endure hearing about the war on Christmas, we might as well fight it. So I am encouraging all of you, dear listeners, to join me in waging an all-out war on Christmas by stealing one ornament off your family's Christmas tree every year until there are no more. Send me these ornaments. I will write your family a ransom note. If they pay the ransom, they can have it back. If not, I will execute the ornament in the manner I see fit. I am not worried about committing fake war crimes in this fake war.
The collateral damage. Just think of the tinsel.
All gave some gave all. You know,
So that's your war on Christmas right there.
The entirety of the war on Christmas these days is just, hey, that store's doing slightly less Christmas than they did last year. Get them!
I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's December is Christmas.
Yeah.
Well,
You're winning, guys.
yeah. Well, I got news for you. August through December is Christmas.
For real.
So,
Yeah.
I think we can declare them handily the winners.
Yeah. And congratulations, guys. You won. Yay. Okay. Yay. Good job.
War's over. Stop having the war. Are you
mad about
still having
something
the
else.
war? Why are you still having the war?
Well, they're still having the fucking Civil War, so I guess it makes sense.
That's true.
God, that is true.
All right. Well, with our unconditional surrender, let's move on. Uncle Doug,
You?
you know we sure take the piss out of a lot of religions, don't we?
Sure do.
We sure have some good times and a lot of fun with just, your Muslims, your Mormons, your Catholics, just whoever. Mm-hmm. But, we never talk about the Buddhists, and I'll tell you why. Because that's the right one. That's the true one.
Right, exactly.
Every guy I work with in the industry over 50 who's had 2 bad divorces, a coke habit, and court-ordered anger management is a Buddhist now, and I think that's a good thing. I think they found the way.
They fixed it.
All right. Well, moving on.
Nope. Hey, let's put a pin into that phrase, take the piss out of, because later that might, just keep that in mind.
Keep it in mind.
We're going into some very odd territory here. We've talked before about various versions of religious ascetics. Mm-hmm. The Digambara Jains, who refuse to own and or wear clothes, that we discussed in episode 68, jump to mind. Mm-hmm. The concept of asceticism is all about denying oneself sensual pleasures in pursuit of some sort of spiritual enlightenment. Mm-hmm. In other words, giving up real things that are nice and feeling mostly miserable in exchange for a sense of moral superiority that you then are supposed to also feel bad about, because that's not good either.
You could sum that up in what someone at my job said to me the other day.
Okay.
When I was about to eat a bite of an apple fritter. Nothing tastes as good as being skinny feels.
Gross. That's the grossest thing. And I know that lots of people say it. Just know that if you guys are out there are saying that, you're gross. Anyway, because apple fritters taste demonstrably better than being skinny feels. I promise you. There's a whole spectrum of asceticism, however. There are light practices like Mormonism's monthly Fast Sunday, where Mormons torture their children by denying them any food before church and then make them listen to their neighbors cry about how important Joseph Smith was.
It's a weird religion.
For reasons that they never fully grasp.
Right.
Then there are medium practices like the so-called whirling dervishes, which we could do at some point. They're Sufi Muslim men who don pretty white dresses and flower pot hats and spin around and around and around until I feel nauseous just watching them on YouTube.
It looks like a good time. It looks like a good time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or also another medium practice might be whatever Daniel Day-Lewis does to himself before he acts in any movie. That's all chump change, though. Today, I'm going extreme. The form of asceticism I want to talk about isn't just about gaining some small incremental measures of spiritual understanding. No, fellas. Today, we're going for the whole enchilada. It's 100% enlightenment or fuck off and die. Literally. Today, we're talking about Sokushinbutsu. That is as close as I'm going to come. I assume
That's
that
one
I
of my
nailed it.
favorite things ever to talk about. What is that, Dan?
Listen, before we get into what that is, a little background. Sokushinbutsu is a Buddhist thing, having occurred mostly in Japan, but also noted in other parts of Asia, including China, Thailand, Tibet, and India. Now, if you know Buddhism at all, you know that it follows the teachings of Gautama Buddha, a 5th century BCE Indian fella who taught some very nice things about living a good life and also some very wacky things to go along with them. If you really know Buddhism, you know that one of the Buddha's main points was what he called the middle way or middle path. This was super important to him. You see, Gautama Buddha had tried the severe asceticism thing. And decided that neither that nor sensual hedonism was the best way. He was very clear that a nice, middle-of-the-road approach was the way to enlightenment. But you know what? Sometimes ascetics gotta ascete.
Yeah.
And why should every Buddhist have to listen to Siddhartha Gautama anyway? Just because he's the Buddha? Grow up. So, enter a small group of Japanese Buddhists who are apparently bored out of their minds, possibly literally, and looking for some good shortcuts to nirvana. But how? How can one achieve total enlightenment in just a few short years when it usually takes several lifetimes? Well, the gruesome, terrifying answer is Sokushinbutsu, which, when you enter into it, when you enter it into Google Translate, comes back as instant Buddha.
That sounds like a sitcom on CBS.
Right? Actually, we're pitching it. Mark set up the meeting.
Spiritual cup of noodles. I love it. That hot water.
Exactly. It is, and I promise I'm not making this up, self-mummification.
Oh, no.
But wait, Uncle Dan, how is that possible? Well, I think you'll be sorry I pretended you asked that,
I
but
think so,
here
too.
goes.
I'm leaving.
Yes, exactly. The path to becoming a Sokushinbutsu is a long, terrifying, painful road. The object of the game is to prepare your body while you're alive to the point where, once you die, it will not decompose.
Oh.
This is a fascinating goal, but strangely, lots of religions, including Christianity, have viewed uncorrupted corpses as a sign that the person was extra super awesome in life, so it isn't without precedent. From around 1000 CE to the beginning of the 20th century, only about a couple dozen guys have ever successfully achieved it, with some of these mummies still around from at least 5 centuries ago.
Okay.
So, what's the recipe? I distinctly don't hear you asking, Uncle Doug. How do you make yourself die with nothing of interest to little microorganisms? How can I become an instant Buddha? Well, it all starts with Mokujikigyo. Nailed it. Which roughly translates to tree eating. Don't at me. Anyway, you basically survive on pine needles, resins, seeds, nuts, berries, and yes, bark.
So you're a vegan. You're just a vegan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe some river rocks for fiber.
Yeah.
The goal here is to eliminate as much fat and muscle as possible from your body. Continue this for a reasonable amount of time. let's say, I don't know, anybody want to throw out an amount of time?
A decade?
That's right, 1,000 days. We'll start with 1,000 days. The better part of 3 years. But, if you don't feel confident it'll work after the first 1,000, feel free to do another 1,000. It's fine. Or even another. Only you can know for sure when your body is completely inedible to even the most discerning of bacteria. For extra credit, you can also drink a tea made up of the sap of a tree that's used basically as a lacquer. This has a 2-for-1 sort of benefit, both making you throw up a whole lot and quasi-embalming you as you stand there, which is a great deal. Now it's time to start weaning yourself off the devil's sauce. That nasty habit you've had, you knew that you would have to give up someday. That's right, water. Start slowly tapering down the old H2O until you've rid yourself of the stuff for good.
I don't think
good.
That's how it works, but that's fine.
What's that? You say you feel like you're dying, Uncle Doug? Great! Then we're ready for the final phase of the process. We will now put you into a small, nondescript pine box, just big enough for you to lie down in, or maybe there's room for you to sit cross-legged in lotus position for a few days. Don't worry, if your legs fall asleep, you probably haven't been able to feel them for a while anyway. We'll include a long bamboo tube to provide air for breathing, not sure why, and a little bell. Then we dump a bunch of charcoal on top. Isn't that fun? You're basically buried alive.
Okay.
We lower the coffin or meditation chamber into a hole in the ground, and all you got to do is ring the bell every now and then to let us know that you're still disappointingly living.
Jesus.
You just chill down there, ringing your bell and thinking about your life choices until you stop ringing. That's when the rest of the monks will know that you're dead, and congratulations, your work is complete. Now all that's left is for the other monks to seal your chamber and wait for another 1,000 days. If you're still in one piece when they reopen your box, you did it! You're a Buddha! They'll clothe your disgusting shriveled body in priestly robes, set you on a pedestal, and worship your nasty corpse forever. You won't be around to appreciate it, of course, but man, what a legacy.
Yeah.
Why?
Mind you, the vast majority of monks who have attempted this have failed, so that sucks. But if you manage it, well, your life sucked just as much as if you had failed, so, well, I don't know.
So
whatever.
What happens when they dig you up and you've started rotting?
Well, then they actually just rebury you, and you're just a dead guy. You're just a regular old dead guy.
Back in the hole.
They do think that you're pretty neat for having tried, and they will revere you, but they won't worship you.
Okay.
So,
It's kind of a high-stakes game, self-mummification. You really only get one shot.
It's
right?
Exactly. It's like those guys who play poker and go all in on the first hand. That's all you got. Okay, so mind you, as for the fellas who have achieved this, there are several that you can go and visit if you're interested. Just head to the sparsely populated mountains of Yagamata Prefecture in Japan and have someone point you in the direction of one of several temples where there is a dead guy in the middle. And that's it. That's how you make a Buddha in just a few thousand days.
I don't think I'm going to go to that place.
You don't want to go to there?
Not again. Not again.
Not after the first time.
Yeah, I've been banned.
Yeah. So there you go. Not all mummies. Some are self-chosen. And when I learned that...
Is this a thing anybody is still doing?
No, it was made illegal in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So it hasn't been happening that we know about. There may be some, underground Sokushinbutsu clubs.
Yeah.
But as you know, the first rule of Sokushinbutsu Club is that you don't ring your bell about Sokushinbutsu Club.
Exactly. Is that you're too dehydrated to talk about it?
Right, yeah, exactly. So yeah,
wow, well, that's Buddhism, everybody.
I'm pretty sure that this was what Christian Bale was trying to do before he filmed The Machinist, but he decided to stay alive instead.
Got goddamn close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you're looking for fame and glory,
You look elsewhere.
you could do a lot better.
Got a really
This.
fucked up way for you to get there.
Yeah, exactly. But
Well,
at least
gee,
you'll be
that
dead
was
at the end.
That was a very appetizing, and I'm starving, so let's move on.
You're welcome. Guys,
Yo.
here's the thing. I'm
Yeah.
not here.
I'm not here either.
None of us are here.
I'm the only one who's here.
That's right.
Doug's the
Only
only one
Uncle
that's
Doug
here.
is here, and Uncle Doug, we don't allow to look at any of the business of our
No,
show. That
The
would be-
parental controls do not allow Doug to see any of the shit that we actually do.
It's a bad idea. So none of us knows who our new patrons are for this week.
Yeah. Uncle Dan's on
Yeah.
a well-deserved vacation.
I don't know, but listen, if I got what I deserved, I would be whipped in the streets.
That's a fair point.
But
Uncle Dan is on another vacation. Let's just put it that way.
I get to be on vacation, and so we're not gonna talk about the patrons this week. What we're going to do is issue a challenge, which is to say, when I get back, it's going to be 2 weeks where we don't talk about patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I get back, I think our listeners could overwhelm me with too much patronage.
Since Dan's the
Yeah.
one who announces the patrons, let's make him hurt.
Yeah,
Break
exactly.
him. Break him.
Give me extra work to do. So if you don't hear your name today, that's fine. Don't worry, it's coming. But the rest
love
of you,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're considering becoming a patron, this is a great time to just make my life miserable.
Yeah.
So
I might become a patron.
overwhelm me with your patronage, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks about it.
But
Yeah,
in the meantime, don't hesitate to go out there and find places where stars are gathered.
$5 a day! Give us your
or
5
dime,
stars.
motherfuckers. See you on the other side.
Bye.
Guys,
Hey.
Hello.
it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood here in Vancouver. It's not raining for once, so I'm delighted by that.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Last week we had a little chat about a certain Wall Street Journal editorial.
Yeah, you got up in arms there, Uncle Mark.
Well, I did a little bit. And for those who didn't listen last time,
Rude.
Yeah, which is go fuck yourself. But for those who did but want to remember, we talked about an op-ed written by a woman named Erica Commissar, who is apparently a licensed therapist, who thinks that godless parents should lie to their children about the existence of God because it makes life easier. So,
Because her sense was that the only options were you either tell them that there's a happy heaven that grandma's going to go to,
Or your worm food.
or you horrify them with the meaninglessness of me trying to say that word, or of life itself.
yeah,
And
that's
there's
right.
no in between.
And there's no in between.
So we brought in an expert of our own. We brought in a ringer.
I think what you do is you fight licensed clinical social worker with licensed clinical social worker.
That's
I
right.
think
And we
she's
have
a
brought our friend
psychoanalyst,
Paige.
actually. So
Oh, whatever
she
the
may
fuck he is.
outrank me. That's a possibility here. We may, in an even battle, she may win.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
You've heard the dulcet tones right there of our friend Paige. Paige, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's always good to be here with you, brilliant souls. It's fun.
Well, the flattery will get you everywhere. So
Yeah.
please continue.
except that now you've definitely discredited your own.
Yeah. And that perception's not going to last long.
Yeah, sure. That's true. We'll destroy that
I
very
think what
quickly.
Paige is saying is that he's objectively pro for lying to children, which he just did to us. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for lying. No, I'm not.
All right. So Paige, we came down firmly on the side of not telling children that you believe in magical daddies in the sky, if in fact you don't believe that. But we wanted to bring you in because we wanted to know, like, maybe we're wrong. We are literally experts at nothing. So we thought maybe we'd bring you in and get you some actual expertise in the room.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to offer my own insights about it. I've been thinking about it ever since you approached me about this, and I have some very immature thoughts, which I think may be of value.
The best kind.
That was almost the name of the podcast. Immature thoughts.
Wait a minute. I'm going to start that podcast.
Patreon goal. We will spin off. It'll be Immature Thoughts with Paige and the uncles.
I've got to go get immaturethoughts.com right now.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, quick. Immature thoughts that may be of value, I think, it's a nice...
Well, we already
Excellent
purchased
name.
immaturethougts.ru, so I think...
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like it.
So did you get a chance to read that excremental piece in the Wall Street Journal?
I did. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I mean, I think we all should be. We've been lying to children for years. We've been lying to ourselves for years. We've been lying to each other for years. And apparently it's being suggested as the high moral ground because of its value in keeping people from being anxious, whether they're children or adults.
Yeah.
I don't think I cotton to such an argument. I mean, ultimately, this notion that you protect your children from despair by lying to them, maybe it's true.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true, but does that make it a good path?
Right.
I doubt that it's true, frankly. And when I read the article, I started looking at it and I'm thinking, these notions of what makes a person more functional, more mentally healthy, the criterion for that looked pretty spacious to me. I mean, that's pretty age of first sexual contact, I think that's relevant if your first sexual contact was with a priest, perhaps.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but number of sexual partners was measures of mental health. Wow.
Yeah, that seems crazy.
That's actually insane, except in a particular value system, which tends to be a religious value system.
Right.
And it's open to question, and then it kind of falls apart from there.
And as we've talked about on this show a number of times, we uncles have all experienced more like trauma just from that notion that sexual partners are like evil. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, absolutely.
it seems crazy to me that now we're not only saying, yes, number of sexual partners is a good thing, or like fewer sexual partners is better than more sexual partners, but she's also even claiming that somehow if you have more, you're less mentally healthy than if
this
you
can
have
be
fewer.
either predictive or a measure of mental health. This whole thing is really fascinating to me, and I think if you follow the money, you may find out some of the biases that are inherent in the way that it goes. I always ascribe to that notion. You want to know what's going on, follow the money. So if you're interested in that, follow the money, see where it goes. However, there are much more interesting questions afoot here. This struck a nerve among us atheists. Mm-hmm. This notion of the ethics involved in lying to children. Well, how did we get so triggered? What was the hook there?
Yeah.
I mean, some person with a potential religious bias is suggesting that religion is better than critical thinking. How did we get so hooked by it? I think it's because there's something there.
Do you think it might be because somebody lied to us in the past, Paige? Is that what you're saying?
That's got to be
Are
part
we
of it,
blowing the
too.
lid off this thing?
Wait a minute. I think I'm a little pissed off about the lies and the failure to do diligence about nonsense, okay?
Yeah.
However, religion does some things really well that we atheists, we skeptics, we non-believers may not be doing so well. I wonder if it doesn't kind of hook us a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, to me, there's something that AA and Mormonism has in combination. And, it's not just silly.
Belief
It's
in
the
spirits,
fellowship.
yes.
It's the fellowship. I'm sorry, but AA and the 12 steps, as useful as they are, they're kind of inane.
Right.
They're good. They're useful. But you know what makes AA work? Fellowship.
Yeah.
Is hanging out with other people with similar purposes, a shared direction that matters. Well, Mormonism offers that. Mm-hmm. Baptism offers that. Baptist, whatever that is. Catholicism, Buddhism, it all offers a ready-made peer group, connections, a mythology of purpose in living. Mm-hmm. Do we do that very well as atheists with each other?
Not usually.
I mean, what's the support group for us?
Well, that's a really good point. And a lot of people we've talked to in and out of the podcast who were religious, that's the number one thing they say they either miss about religion,
absolutely,
or that kept them in it longer than their belief system did.
Absolutely,
is community, friends, family, and atheism isn't an ideology, so it's hard maybe to build
absolutely
around that.
We have a real challenge
we do.
Because of that. I think it's inherent in skepticism because Where's your support group?
Yeah.
But it exists. All we have to do is begin to pay attention to it. It's strange to me. I don't know why mythology is so much more interesting than reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating to me. Religion offers an afterlife at the expense of this life. Mm-hmm. Skepticism offers this life at the expense of an afterlife.
Right.
I'm all for this life.
Right.
One life at a time, please.
Right. Well, and also the life that we can prove for sure exists.
I'm pretty sure I exist.
Yeah.
I'm not absolutely sure because I'm pretty skeptical, and that's one of the things that we fall into, right?
We'll edit that part out. Go ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. But what about this life? I mean, of all people on this planet, we could potentially be rooted in the absolute majesty of this experience.
Yeah.
Science is extraordinary. It offers insight into the great mysteries of existence.
Yeah.
Why do we have to believe in many gods or one god to affiliate?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the possible narratives that we can be involved in that could be really, really intriguing? And I think that's a place for people who are disbelievers, people who are non-believers, people who are skeptics, empirically minded, scientifically, whatever. How do we begin to construct this in a way that is better and offers more than religion does? Because it has a huge downside.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? I don't know about you, but I'm freaking fascinated by the fact that my prefrontal lobe shares with gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees some things that I don't share with baboons, which is the ability to map other minds. Baboons don't know that their fellow creatures have minds. No, chimpanzees do, and that's where lying comes from.
Oh, yeah.
Once you know your fellow creatures have minds, you can manipulate them. You can fake them out for fun and profit. And chimpanzees do this brilliantly. They fuck with each other
I'm so
constantly.
sick of getting fucked with by chimpanzees. Thank you for bringing that up.
You gotta leave the zoo, man.
Dude, they are constantly just getting the better of me.
Really.
I need better
there's
friends.
a lot of chimps that have been getting the better of us for a long time. But to me, this is interesting because I share that. My prefrontal lobe hangs out with other humans. It maps their mind. And through some weird, explainable, scientifically observable processes, forms a model in my mind of how my shared fellow beings' minds work. And I share that with orangutans, gorillas, and chimpanzees, but not baboons because they lack the prefrontal structures necessary for this bit of alchemy. They don't know their partners have minds. They cannot be manipulated, and they do not experience the richness of that process.
Yeah, suck it, baboons.
I've never liked baboons.
Well, I tell you, they would make lousy priests because they can't really lie.
Red-ass motherfuckers.
Okay, now that's important, all right? Because once you know that your fellow creatures have minds, you get to manipulate them. You can posit false ideas for them to go in for. But I got to tell you, this prefrontal lobe, when you begin to study neuroscience and you begin to understand these kind of things, you are struck by the majesty of your own brain and also the limitations of it. But also you begin to be connected to other creatures. Do you know that killer whales may have more capacity for emotion than human beings because more of their brain is devoted to it?
Interesting.
They probably hate the name then, don't you think?
You know, they might object. They might be lover whales from their perspective. It's all
you
perspective.
kill one whale and for the rest of your fucking life, you know.
I know, but this connects us to nature, right? Who can teach the majesty of nature better than science?
Yeah.
Without the mythology and the bullshit that misleads us and posits that, somehow we're above all things.
Yeah.
We may not be.
Yeah.
I think that science, I think that this possibility of skepticism has this opening into creating something greater than mystery, the ineffable and so forth. I mean, when you begin to understand the world, you're transfixed by it. We are a part of our fellow creatures. Now, that might lead you to becoming a vegan. It might lead you to just exploring the kind of majesty of biology. But what about biology? What about physics? What about astronomy? It was a way of teaching our children how we're connected to all things. I mean, for God's sakes, we're stardust.
Yeah.
We're the elemental parts of the universe. I'm sorry, that's way better than, God created the world in a ludicrous 7 days.
It's so much better than a talking snake. It is.
I know. I dig talking snakes. Don't get me wrong.
I love talking snakes, but they don't exist. But the when I see Christians online going, "Well, are you trying to say I'm related to a monkey?" I'm like, "Yes, you
It's
are.
amazing.
You're related to a
Correct.
cabbage and a potato, and it's fucking awesome. And that is the most beautiful thing I can imagine about life. Is that it all connects, right?"
I don't think our audience is religious fundamentalists.
No.
No.
I think our audience is each other.
Yeah.
And why aren't we a beacon to everything else? And I think eventually we are. I don't believe that most people are, when offered the option to find Dan's house, are going to pray for directions. I think they're going to use Siri.
Yeah.
I did that on the way over here. She led me here through some good, orderly directions that did not rely on a connection to a supposed God. Now, I think evangelists use their cell phone to find their way.
Yeah.
And that's based on science, not on magic. Now, I think that's a nice metaphor.
Wait, you're saying that Siri isn't magic?
I think she may be God.
I think
She's certainly closer to a god than anything I've ever
She's a
experienced.
demon.
Julia Cameron, she uses the acronym GOD as good, orderly direction. Siri gave me good, orderly directions, and she's based entirely on science.
yeah.
Well, as we, our kind of stated goal in this podcast is to kind of do battle with religion. So
We
to
have
speak.
goals?
What? Don't you check the message board?
I don't know how to
It's
read.
on the whiteboard, Dan. Would you please just look
I
at it
didn't
once
get
in
the
a
list
while?
of goals.
Lose 10 pounds has been at the top of the list for a long time.
How's that working out?
Even collectively, we haven't been able to manage it.
No,
We might want to join forces.
Yeah, you brought the average down a little bit for us all. But religion is waging war with science in our schools, right? That's why they're trying to teach teach creationism and stop teaching evolution, et cetera, because these truths have more power than the lies. And I think that to me kind of gives even more egregiousness to this article of, like we were talking about before we started recording, the kids are going to find out the truth eventually.
Yes.
They're going to know.
And in the studies, we're finding out that there's fewer and fewer religious people every decade.
Yeah.
In this country. Elsewhere, they're way ahead of us.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so I guess part of the question...
So your point's really important, though. Do you want to wage a battle with fundamentalists? Okay, if you feel called to that. I'm really intrigued about the possibility of creating networks of influence that are rooted in this skeptical, non-divine belief process. How do we affiliate with each other? How do we offer fellowship to each other? How do we begin to really develop for our children in these conversations about this life a sense of connection, unity, and purpose, ethical set of values to guide our behavior that's greater than a man in the sky told us to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting conversation to have. And I'm not interested in talking to fundamentalists of any stripe now unless they want to begin the conversation. What I am interested in is besting them. I want to fucking outdo religion by creating a sense of unity and purpose among human beings. I think we have a shared purpose, but go beyond that. Animals, we're parts of those folks. We share most of the DNA. It's very little that separates us. What separates us is really important. Can we fucking use it?
Right.
And we don't do that in opposition. We don't do it in contests with fundamentalist thinkers. They're too rigid. But little by little, we're winning the battle. Don't forget that every decade, there are fewer and fewer religious people in this country. They're losing, they're scared, and they're taunting us. Let's best them.
Paige, you'll be delighted to know that I get emails from kids that listen to our show in seminary class. So
How awesome.
yeah, so
Listen,
we're
look at that
infiltrating.
Insurrection, right?
Yeah, we're infiltrating for
Yeah,
sure.
That's what's happening. So let's not get too freaked out when we're baited by this stuff.
So my question then is, it seems to me that one big overarching question that we need to answer in answer to Commissar's tripe in the journal is, what do you suggest we do say to a child who's lost a grandparent, to a child who's experiencing death for the first time and wants to know what the hell's going on?
Well, I think it's a lousy time to begin the conversation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, what a stupid time to start that conversation. We're in a crisis right there. Now, crises are great for reorganization because they dismantle things, they upset things, we become open to possibilities. However, why does that conversation start with the death of a family member?
Okay.
Why doesn't it begin with conversations about the nature of reality? Yeah, we're born. What do you think about that? Yeah, we're going to die too. Okay. What do you think about that? You'd be surprised with the sensibility of children's brains. Why are we disrespecting these creatures so much that we think they can handle the truth? They often present it to us when we're open to it. You know what? They don't need religion. There's no gene that sets you up to believe in religion. It wants a sense of purpose, a sense of community, a sense of affiliation, a way to feel effective and creative. So what if we have the conversation from the beginning as, we are creation. Creation flows through us. I mean, sorry, we're fucking stars, sweetheart. We're the elements of stars. We're connected to every molecule and atom in the known universe. It flows through us, and we live in creativity and in creation. We feed it forward, and we will die. And somehow it continues. But we're in this, really indispensable moment in this possibility. It is our unique expression of creation.
I was at the Getty Museum in L.A. I think, Mark, you were there. And we were waiting for it to open. There was a little crowd, maybe 20 people. And a bird hit the glass window and dropped dead on the patio right there. And there was a child, 6, maybe 7 years old, right nearby, and walked over and was looking at this dead bird. And his dad walked over and knelt down and said, and explained death to him.
There it is.
Laid it out for him. That bird is no longer alive.
Yes.
And it's all that's left is its body.
Yeah. 1 minute we're flying.
Yeah.
And another minute we don't know.
Right.
But that bird is no longer here. And what does that mean to you? I'm telling you, children put together things in ways that we're not open to. Those conversations can be had when birds hit windows, and that happens all the time. It happened 3 times in my daughter's neighborhood this week. Okay. What is that? There's your opening, not when, grandpa perishes. We're all in reorganization and chaos at that moment.
Right.
We should be having conversations that are truthful, that are reality-based, that show respect for children's ability to live in the world. And you know what? Existential angst is part of living for the religious and the non-religious. The bullshit in this article is that religious people don't experience existential despair or anxiety.
Right.
In addition, they also experience the fear of retribution.
Right.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
I do not have that anymore because
Right.
I realize there's no man in the sky who's going to judge me or save me. Nobody needs to be saved. Can we just teach this from the beginning? There's no more despair in reality than there is in this fucking fiction of religion.
Yeah.
There's no more existential angst. Okay, so can we have the honest conversations when the bird hits the window? That prepares us for the moment when grandma's perishing, okay? And we don't pass on.
Right.
We die.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Paige, about just kind of the general ethics of children and fiction. I heard, maybe you've heard this. George Takei tells this amazing story about, when he and his family were taken into, our horrible internment camps, the Japanese internment camps during World War II, that his parents explained it to them as vacation. And they said, those guys standing at the ends of the train, they're there to make sure we get to our destination safely. The guys with the guns at the end of the train. They're making sure we're safe, and we go to this fun summer camp. And there was something really beautiful about them wanting to protect him and his brother from the terror that they were experiencing. And, of course, he did find out the truth, obviously.
Who told?
The accommodations were not what Airbnb promised they were, apparently. But I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I'm not saying that there aren't reassuring fictions. I love fiction. I go to the movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I suspend reality. I play with magic, okay? Concepts that allow me to be more creative. But I know it's bullshit. But I'm open to the possibility that it's not. I like creativity. As an artist, I invite it into my life. I believe somehow in muses. It's just that they're real people, not archangels. Okay, there are comfortable fictions, absolutely. You can offer them to your children if you want. They might be reassured by that. I don't find it as good as the absolute amazing reality that we live in. And part of that is, we're here for a little while. Value your life. Creativity flows through you. It is the promise that is held in every cell of your body to offer your creativity back to the world as repayment for your very creation. And when you perish and you end, your opportunity may well be over. Use your life well. And how do we do that? I mean, religion does some things well. It offers a tribe.
Yeah.
It's a bullshit tribe in some ways, but it's a very real one in another. Well, what are we offering? What are we offering as skeptics? Where's our affiliation? What are the opportunities? I think parents, the best thing you can do is offer your children the opportunity for fellowship. It doesn't have to be a church. I'm sorry, but a soccer team can be a bigger fellowship and tribe than a church.
You could become a patron of a podcast, for example.
Absolutely. Subscribe now. Yeah, but I played in a rock and roll band from 12 on. It was more of a religion to me than my Mormonism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The creative process was flowing through us. We got to the point where we knew where each other were going. We could intuit it. We were a tribe, and we fought each other's fights. We were a fellowship. It gave me a sense of purpose and identity. It doesn't matter what it is. What are you offering your children that offers that need for fellowship, affiliation, connectivity, a tribe? And then what do you offer them in terms of purpose? What are you suggesting is your purpose? What are you open to as their purpose? Can you be watching in the wings, and when they show some interest, you do what Jim Carrey says, your job then as a parent is to kick the door open to whatever they were interested in? Pretty good parenting advice. Open the door to purpose and creativity when you see your kids show an interest. But can you lead them to a sense of purpose? Can you provide some open door to connection, affiliation? That's the only thing that religion really does well, in my estimation, is it provides you a ready-made tribe. A fiction and a narrative that allows you a sense of purpose. I think we can do way better than that as non-believers. But what are we doing? Are we doing that well? I think we're kind of putzing around. So I think it behooves us all to start to look at how can we do this better? How can we lead children into reality with a sense of purpose and a sense of affiliation? When we're doing that well, we've got a leg up on believers. There's no bullshit. There's no lies. We're offering the best we have in good faith, facing the doubt and fear of mortal existence. This is a risky business, this life. Let's quit pretending that Jesus is on the other side. He's going to welcome us. We don't know that. Can we enter into this with faith and skepticism? I mean, who's going to do that better than us?
Well, everybody look for Paige's new series of affiliations that you can sign up for.
Sure. We'll be starting the
soon.
Cathedral of Disbelief soon.
There you go.
Yeah. And parents, remember to
synagogues and temples everywhere.
stand around outside glass windows and wait for birds to hit them. That seems to be the best advice we can give you.
Everything is grist for the mill.
Yeah. Just wait for death to occur and you're golden. So
It's going to happen any minute.
it's going to happen
be
anyway.
conscious, be aware.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Paige, thank you so much for joining us and for giving insight better than the three of us can manage ourselves.
Oh, I don't know. I think you guys do it brilliantly all the time. In fact, I think we're all doing it in varying degrees and in varying ways as we live our lives. Let's just offer the best we have to each other, collaborate with each other instead of colluding with bullshit.
Agreed.
Can't get better than that.
Going on the T-shirts.
Exactly.
It's hard to get a graphic for that, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Paige,
All
thanks
right,
so much
Paige.
for joining us.
Yeah,
Paige.
thank you.
That's a pleasure.
Moving on.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or you can ring our little bell if you leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. Or you can ring my bell on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
And thanks to our awesome patrons.
And thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thanks all of you for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.